call to order the Borough of River Edge Mayor and Council meeting, regular agenda, April 27th, 2020. Could I ask everyone to please stand for a moment of silent reflection? Let's remember all those who are suffering from coronavirus, as well as their families, their loved ones, and especially our healthcare workers and all of our first responders who are caring for them. If I could ask Councilwoman Montesano Cohen to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd ask all members of the council and those who are on with us to mute their mics at this time, but please be conscious that we will need for you to unmute as we go, just so we don't get feedback. I'd also like to remind the public that if you're on a phone and you're trying to be a part of the meeting, and you, at the time that we open to the public, if you'd like to ask a question, *9 will alert our monitor, Councilwoman Kaufman, that you have a question. And she will unmute you when you are recognized. She will allow me to know that you're on at the moment that you do a *9. For those of you who are on video, there is a hand raising app that's part of the program, and you could raise your hand at that time. And I believe also those of you who are on video or on a computer, that you would be able to type in a question through chat if you choose to do so. All right, a statement of compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act. This meeting complies with the Open Public Meeting Act by notification on December 20th of this location, date, and time to the Ridgewood News and the Record, and by the posting of the same on the municipal bulletin board and the borough website, and filing notice of the same with the borough clerk. Okay, last time it was difficult for our borough clerk to call the roll, so I'm going to call the roll. At this time, I ask the council to unmute their mic. Council President Canigo.
Here.
Councilwoman Bastide.
Here.
Councilman Gordier.
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Here.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Here.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Here.
Also present with us is Raymond Porio, our business administrator, Tom Sarlo, our borough attorney, and Congressman Josh Gottheimer. And we'll be calling on the congressman in just a moment. Our first order of business before the congressman is to approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council regular meeting for April 13th, 2020. Could I have Council President Canigo move it, followed by Councilwoman Bastide second it?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Is there any abstention? Hearing none, we'll mark that as unanimous. At this time, we are greatly honored to call upon our Congressman for Congressional District, believe it's 5, Josh Gottheimer, representative in the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. We are honored to have him. He's going to be speaking on several topics. Congressman, are you with us?
I just moved him over and unmuted him. I'm not sure. Congressman Gottheimer?
All right, we'll move ahead with other business, and hopefully the congressman will be back with us momentarily. Okay, we're going to move on to open public comments on any item of the agenda. So for the general public who is watching this or on their phones, this is the time that you would raise your hand once we open, or hit *9, and Councilwoman Kaufman will recognize you. So could I have a motion? Could I have a motion from Councilman Gaudier and a second from Councilwoman Kaufman to open to the public?
I make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there
Aye.
anyone who is opposed? Is there any abstention? Hearing none, let us count it as unanimous. Okay, so Councilwoman Kaufman, we're going to put you in charge of this. If you give the general public about 2 minutes, and if we, at the end of 2 minutes, if there is nothing or a minute and a half, then please, if you could make note of that. And so I'll then call on Councilwoman Montesano Cohen for a second and Councilwoman Consilla for a, Councilwoman Montesano for a first, Councilwoman Consilla for a second to close to the public. So let us give the public a chance to call in or to raise their hand.
I don't see any hand raised.
Okay,
Actually, I take that back. There's hold on one second. Lou has a question, and then also Congressman Gottheimer just showed up again.
good. So Lou, if you have a question on the agenda, let's hear it.
It is not on the agenda. So
Well, these are
figured
odd times. We're gonna hold until the end. Lou, if that's okay, your questions at
fine.
the end? All right then, very good.
There we go.
Okay, could I have Councilwoman Montesano Cohen followed by Councilwoman Kinsella? Could I have them move to close to the public?
I make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, we will record that as unanimous. We will now return to our wonderful Congressional District 5 representative, Congressman Josh Gottheimer. Congressman, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We know you're doing great things for Congressional District 5 and for River Edge, and so we give you the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I'm grateful. So are we open to the public here, or is this just for you?
We opened to the public and then closed for any item on the agenda. And so now we're now in regular session and we're asking you, you're live and it will eventually
Great.
be put on YouTube, but we're asking you to share with us all the great things you're doing, and we appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you to the council. And I know it's good to see a lot of friendly faces, and I hope everyone's doing well. And I do want to just take a minute to not just say to all of you, but to everyone who's watching. I hope you and your families are well and safe. And if you need anything, you know, I will you can give out my email so you have it. And I'll do it at the end of my chat. But I also just want to take a second, as I'm sure you all have, to thank our remarkable frontline healthcare workers and our first responders who, you know, who've been just incredible heroes throughout this whole process. I was just on with people who helping us deal with our nursing home issue, which, as you also probably been following, has just been devastating. The long-term care issue in the state and in my district, and it's really just been it's been a rough couple months for everybody. But I just want to say thank you for everybody who've, you know, especially people who've been sacrificing so much, and and everyone out there who's been social distancing and self-quarantining. I know this is not easy. I know there's a lot in terms of people's professional lives and jobs and businesses, and it's affecting every single aspect of people's lives. And I just want to say that we're thinking about you, and I'm grateful for all the sacrifice people are making for the good of all of us. So thank you. And with that, let me just give you a little bit of a summary of what's going on. I think you asked the governor today, as we hear from him daily, but there's a lot going on in Washington that is affecting us here. So let me give you just kind of a quick summary. We've, if you look at the whole map of the United States, unfortunately, our district and our area has been in the eye of the storm. In my district, to give you perspective, we have, which is Bergen County, Sussex, Warren, and Passaic counties, we have 28,000 cases in the counties that make up my district, and more than 1,500 people have lost their lives, and which is just devastating when you think about that. And I was on the phone a few minutes ago with another member of Congress who's from upstate New York, and they've had a couple cases, and very few people have lost their lives, thank God. And when I talk to my colleagues in Arkansas and Montana, as I do regularly from other parts of the country, they've also, thankfully, they stayed in place. They self-quarantined. As we got hit early, it just didn't hit them, thankfully. And they have, in the state of Arkansas, I was talking to a colleague of mine, they have 40 deaths in the entire state of Arkansas. So thank God it has not hit there hard, but they have a very different experience than what we're going through. And I think we have to, and I've been looking at this and thinking about this in a very regional way, in a sector-specific way. And I think that's, how we have to look at the best way to address this virus and to beat it and to think about it. We've got to be very smart here in how we handle it, and we have to look at it differently in every part of the country. That said, we've passed now 3.5 packages of legislation. You've probably been following that. The first package was $8 billion, and which seemed seismic at the time. And the fact that it was bipartisan was even more incredible, given how difficult it is to pass bipartisan legislation these days. In fact, I was in the Situation Room with the Vice President and Dr. Birx on her first day when she flew over from, I think she was in Africa, in the continent. I don't remember which country she was in. She flew over, and that was the first day when they brought a group of us together, Democrats and Republicans, to discuss what they were seeing and the early side of it, and asking for us to please all come together in a bipartisan way to help pass this package of legislation, which we did. And it had some support for small businesses and something for testing. Then you fast forward to the CARES Act, which was a $2.2 trillion package, which was passed nearly unanimously in both chambers. Well, ultimately was unanimous in both chambers, although not every member was able to make it and vote. That had a few major pieces to it, which I know are affecting a lot of your constituents, right, and a lot of people in River Edge. One, direct payments to people if they under certain income, right? Direct payment, direct checks. A lot of that went out through. If they had a direct connection with the IRS, there was direct checks electronically to the banks. Otherwise, checks have been mailed, and there's been tranches of checks through them that have gone out. And tens of millions that went out electronically. Secondly, support for small businesses, and as you probably follow, there are a few programs. There's an SBA loan forgiveness program. There was an emergency program called which was up to $10,000 program, which you've all heard about, called PPP, which we just last week added more resources to and reopened this morning at 10:30. There's a huge amount of demand for that program. That's a loan forgiveness program. If you keep your workers employed, as I'm sure you're following that, there was an enormous demand for it and not enough supply. I'm worried, frankly, that there's not going to be enough supply on the second tranche. And so we're very focused on that. And then, of course, there's unemployment insurance paid at the full amount, which is basically a $600 increase for people. And that was for 13 weeks. And so we're about 4 weeks into that right now. Then there were other programs, of course, to address food security issues. testing, money for hospitals, and our frontline healthcare workers, PPE, all the protective equipment, money for our first responders, which, by the way, from your perspective, for your fire and law enforcement, those grants are opening up. I think I think it could be tomorrow. I'll get you the exact date on that. I was just on with the Washington office that handles that this morning. And so those all different programs that are meant to try to help us get through this. Last point I want to make, and then I'll open it up to any questions you have. Last point I want to make is that you have the way we're looking at this is, and the Problem Solvers Caucus, which I co-chair, which is a bipartisan group of 25 Democrats and 25 Republicans, we put out a back to work checklist. And the way we're looking at it is there's the health crisis, of course, and there's the economic crisis. And frankly, worried about both of them. And the health crisis, which first and foremost, we shouldn't reopen America, in my opinion, or reopen anywhere until we feel comfortable enough about making sure people are safe. And that part of that, of course, is testing and having enough testing. Part of that's making sure that we have enough protective gear and equipment for our frontline healthcare workers and first responders, and certain sectors, business sectors private sectors that we need to make sure have protective equipment from moment one. And we need to make sure that our supply chains are more secure, because one of the things I worry about is, do we have enough ventilators? Do we have enough PPE? Do our hospitals have what they need so that if there is another outbreak, can they handle it? And that to me is a very big question. And the other issue is making sure that our families can handle everything. As my son just walked in, I'm sure you can we talk about that in a minute? That's really good. I like that. He's showing me football cakes that he wants me to get him for his birthday. Okay. Okay, buddy. Okay.
That's okay, Congressman. Children are wonderful that way. Keep going. We're good.
Exactly. That's my 8-year-old day. So, I know there's a lot of questions, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of issues. And the question is, what's the best way to think about how we reopen in a safe way? So with that, I'll turn it over to you guys for any questions you have.
Well, first of all, before we open the questions, I want to thank you, Congressman, for everything you're doing for River Edge, for Bergen County, for New Jersey. I know you're working very hard, and we really appreciate it. We also want to thank you for taking time to speak to this council in this town in this virtual meeting. We hope in the future you might come and visit us in person once the stay-at-home measures have been lifted. So I really appreciate it. Thank you. Is any
Mayor, I would be honored. You all, and you've got an incredible council. I know all of you, and you've got a great mayor and great leadership, and a great town administrator, and you run it's a wonderful community, and I have a lot of friends who live in River Edge, and everyone loves it, and schools are terrific, and it's a great place, and it's a nice it's a great community. So thank you for your leadership and what you're doing through a very difficult time, because I know it's not easy. I know probably like me, you're working 20 hours a day to make sure that everyone doing your best to help people, and that's all we can do. And so I just wanted to thank you very much for what you're doing. I'd love to come in person, socially distanced.
I would appreciate that. That'd be great. So I open it up to the council. Does any member of council wish to ask the congressman any question in regards to bills and what's happening to Washington? I'm sure the congressman is open to anything. So I'll open it to the council.
Wow, really? This is great.
Well, that's
No questions?
in my opinion, that's a sign of doing a great job, Congressman. It's kind of like when the council chambers are empty. People weren't happy. We would hear from them and see from them.
Mayor, I appreciate you being, you've been on a lot of my calls that we've had with, we've had lots of calls with mayors and first responders and healthcare workers, and you name it, we've been, and Facebook Lives and teletown halls, and all different ways for people to get information to me. And by the way, if you, my website, gottheimer.house.gov, we have a whole tool available for individuals and for businesses, and links with all the resources for their state or federal for information. And if people have any questions for me, if they don't give them here when they're watching this, if you have any questions whatsoever, it's coronavirus NJ5 at mail.house.gov. So coronavirus NJ5 at mail.house.gov. And we've got a whole team of experts assembled. There's lots of different questions. These programs are all brand new, a lot of them. So we're literally, we've been building them, which is why a lot of questions have come up along the way. And so people have questions. We're very happy to get answers and try to be helpful to anybody who needs it.
So Congressman, we just got a text, a chat from our business administrator, Ray Porio, that we're going to add that to our website. So we're going to add that link to our website.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Congressman, I know you're busy. Thank you for taking the time for being with us. We really appreciate it. You're more than welcome to stay if you want, but we're going to, Mr.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Hi, Dario.
Hi, how are you? Perhaps we can open it to the public. I think there may have been a couple of people who wanted to question the congressman before when we had opened it up for agenda items.
Sure.
That'd be fine. Michelle, do you see, you have to make a motion. Could I have Councilman Canigo and Councilwoman Bastide move and second opening to the public again?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, it will be unanimous. We are back open to the public. Councilwoman Kaufman, are there any members of the public who are waiting to ask a question?
If anyone has a question, just use the little raise your hand signal or *9 if you're dialed in. Or just send me of the above. Give it a second. It doesn't look like there are any questions.
Well, that's better. So if people have questions, Mayor,
Yeah.
please, if you give that email address out, and we'll take as many questions as people need, and we'll do whatever to be helpful.
Your availability is really wonderful, Congressman. Thank you so very much. We appreciate you coming.
Thank you all for having me. And, thanks to the council and Council President. Thank you so much.
A question just popped up.
Sorry, there is one. Any help with property taxes at this time is the question.
Well, I'll really turn that over to you all. That's really a question. I know right now from a perspective of the federal government, what we've been doing to try to help people pay their mortgage and their rent and including their taxes is the direct aid, and that's up to, that's capped out by income. And it's $75,000, up to $75,000 an individual, and $150,000 a couple. You get $1,200 or $2,400. It then slides down to it slides down until you hit $198,000 cap, and then of course there's the unemployment insurance, and then if you have a small business, the PPP program and other small business programs that we've put in place to try to help people pay their bills, but we also know it's a very tough time. And I'll turn that over, Mayor, to other points that you'd like to make.
Sure, thank you, Congressman. We appreciate it. So we've received counsel and advice from, I believe, a Division of Community Affairs, if our BA could summarize that, we'd appreciate that, Mr. Porio.
Yes, Mayor. As far as any additional property tax relief, the legislature is still contemplating potential ideas of how to help the individual boroughs and towns. There's nothing that's been enacted as of today, but I know there are various pieces of legislation that are currently being kicked around in the Senate and the Assembly.
Thank you, Mr. Porio. Are there any other questions? Is there a follow-up question?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay. Could I have Councilwoman Kaufman move and Councilman Gordier second a motion to close to the public? We, of course, will open again at the end of the meeting.
Move to close to the public?
Second.
Been moved and second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, we are now closed to the public. Thank you again, Congressman. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope everyone stays safe and healthy, and call if you need me.
Thank you.
You
We
too,
will.
Congressman.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so now we are at item number 8, appointments and personnel changes. Item number, I'm going to read the first and second together, and then we'll move in second. And Mr. Sarlo, do we need to do a roll call for appointments and personnel changes?
You don't need to, no.
Very good, thank you. Okay, so approve the salary change for Eric Schultz in the Department of Public Works for an annual operator number 2, step 5, salary of $68,557 to operator 1, step 1, $73,075, effective April 6, 2020, and approve the salary change of Anthony Naaman in the Department of Public Works from an annual laborer 2, step 2 salary of $43,851 to laborer 2, step 3, $44,359, effective April 16, 2020. Could I have Councilman Kanigo move that and Councilwoman Bastide second?
So moved.
I'd like to just bring to the attention of the council that Deputy Clerk O'Connell sent out a correction to Mr. Schultz's salary earlier today, that the starting salary was $73,075, going to $75,075. With that correction, I will second.
I thought that's what I read because I have the a corrected agenda in front of me. But if I didn't read it correctly, I agree with you.
Yep, thank you.
So it's been moved and
So
seconded.
moved as corrected.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, we will consider that unanimous. Okay, now we have the first reading of an ordinance, ordinance 20-4, an ordinance amending and supplementing the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge, Chapter 400, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, Schedules 400-27, Schedule 1, Parking Prohibited at all times. Before I ask for, let's have Councilwoman Kinsella at first and Councilwoman Montesano Cohen second. If our BA could just give a brief summary of that.
Sure, Mayor. This relates to the work that was done at the intersection of Bogart and Howland. And I sent a report on from our borough engineer, as well as the original request that came from the police department. It was a pretty healthy report, and also listed out pictures for everyone to see. At the end of the day, there's certain regulations in which the borough must follow. These regulations are tied into the NJDOT design manual, which sets certain requirements and where items from the intersection back need to be established as no parking zones. This ordinance, or this amendment to this ordinance, would now change those distances specific to this intersection.
Excellent. Okay. So could I have Councilwoman Kaufman and Councilman Gordier move and second it?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This requires a roll call. So Council President Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Gordier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. It has been approved by the council unanimously. The first reading is complete. We now move to ordinance 20-5, capital ordinance for the Borough of River Edge in the county of, oh, let me go back. That ordinance will come up again at the next meeting when it will be open to the public for questions. And then if it is approved, it will become an ordinance of the borough. So we have another first ordinance, ordinance number 20-5, capital ordinance of the Borough of River Edge in the county of Bergen, New Jersey, authorizing the making of various public acquisitions and improvements in and by and for the borough, appropriating therefore the sum of $338,792 and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from the borough's capital improvement fund. Okay, Mr. Porio, if you could just give a brief summary.
Sure, Mayor. I'm going to address ordinance 20-5, 20-6, and 20-7, since they all relate to funding ordinances. If you recall, several months ago, probably almost 6 months ago, I started meeting with the department heads regarding their capital requests. This year, we received close to $4 million in capital requests from the various department heads. I went through those requests and put forth what my recommendations were to the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee, we then discussed it as an overall council, what my recommendations were that were approved by the Finance Committee along with the Citizen Budget Committee. And through a lot of conversation, the end product of those conversations is what you have in front of you today. I'd remind everyone that a capital ordinance is not an authorization to spend money. It's an authorization to go get money. Capital-based, the capital ordinances really are broken down into two categories. How our bond council wanted to go ahead and set it up, 20-5, which is funded through the operating budget, and 20-6, 20-7 is funded through monies that we would go ahead and borrow. Some of those funds that we would borrow, once we would receive those grants, would offset the cost of the money that we borrowed. And I just have to tell you, this was probably one of the most extensive bond ordinances that I've worked on, seeing how we had 9 different grants involved in this, totaling close to $800,000 in grant money. I want to thank all of the department heads, especially the borough CFO on this project as well too, the Citizen Budget Committee, Bond Council. There's a lot of people that are involved to get us to this process, and certainly yourself, the Finance Committee, and the entire council for going through this process. And this is what the end result of all of our hard work.
Excellent, Mr. Porio. If you would, just for the edification of the public, explain how grants are a benefit to the taxpayers of River Edge.
Well, every year we apply for a variety of different grants, ones that we think that we'll be successful for. For example, as I just referred to on Bogert and Howland, that primarily was funded through a DOT grant. Paid
DOT,
for the majority.
Department of Transportation.
Department of Transportation. We do open space grants. We do community development block grants. Some of those grants pay for hard and soft costs, hard costs being construction, soft costs being professional services. Some pay just for hard costs. So these ordinances wrap all of that up together, and any additional money that's not covered by the grants would then be covered through these ordinances.
So to summarize, we've saved the people of River Edge about $800,000, almost $1 million in their property taxes by doing these grants. And we are grateful to Mr. Porio and everyone who was involved in making it possible for the people of River Edge to maximize their property tax. And so thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. So now could I have Councilwoman Bastide and Council President Canito move and second ordinance 20-5 as read?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. It requires a roll call. Council President Kanigo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bastide.
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Okay, again, that will come up for another hearing. Reading, the second reading will happen at our next council meeting, and it will be then open to the public for questions and comments. Of course, the public can always ask questions and comments at the end of every meeting if they wish to do so. Ordinance 20-6, bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements, stand the acquisition of new additions or replacement equipment and machinery, new information technology equipment, new communication and signal systems equipment, and a new fire truck partial funding, and new automotive vehicles, including original apparatus and equipment in and for the appropriation, the sum of $2,295,655 to pay the cost thereof, to appropriate various grants, to make down payment, to authorize issuance of bonds to the finance such appropriations, and to provide for the issuance of bond abbreviation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Could I have, let's see, could I have Councilwoman Kaufman and Councilman Gaudier move and second that?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. This requires a roll call. Council President Kanigo. Council President, you have to unmute your mic.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Bastide.
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
It has been moved, seconded, and approved unanimously. We are now up to ordinance 20-7, bond ordinance to authorize the improvement of Bogart Road, sections 3 and 4 in and by and for the borough of River Edge in the county of Bergen, state of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $509,200 to pay the cost thereof and to authorize issuance of bonds to finance such appropriations, to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Could I have Councilwoman Indira and Councilwoman Montesano Cohen in that order move and second ordinance 20-7 for the first reading?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. This requires a roll call vote. Council President Kanigo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bastide.
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
It has been moved and seconded. It has been voted on unanimously. It will come up for a second reading at the next meeting of the Mayor of Council. We are now up to a second reading and a public hearing on ordinance 20-3. Calendar year 2020 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank according to NJSA 40A:4-45.14. Could I call on our BA, Mr. Porio, to offer a short summary?
Sure, Mayor. Basically, this is something that you guys have done over the past several years. The state of New Jersey sets certain caps on how much you can increase your appropriations within your municipal budget. If you do not reach those appropriations or what the threshold is, you get to bank that for a period of 3 years. And this just establishes, or this allows, by passing this ordinance, will allow us to continue.
So just for the general public's edification, this does not mean we are going to be spending 3.5% now or ever. It means simply that it gives us that flexibility, especially if there's an emergency or some sort of issue that requires us to issue an emergency funding, which then would appear in next year's budget, and we would then have the ability to pay for it if we move this ordinance in this year. Mr. Porio, is there any part of that explanation that you would like to correct or add to?
Not really, Mayor. It's really if you don't reach the cap of what the expenditures are, and in the subsequent year, for some reason that you need to exceed what the caps that were placed on you, it allows you to go to this cap bank. It's much like a savings account, checking versus savings account.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, could I have Councilman Kanigo and Councilwoman Bastide in that order, open to the public since this is a second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Again, this is a roll call. Council President Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Okay, we are now open to the public. This is a second reading. If any member of the public would like to ask a question and they're on a laptop or an iPad or a computer, they may do so by clicking on the hand raising or write something in the chat area. Or if someone is calling in by phone, they may hit *9. I turn this over for the next 2 minutes to our moderator, Councilwoman Kaufman. Okay, Councilwoman Kaufman, do you see anyone at this time?
I do not.
All right, then, could I have, I'm doing this by making sure that we're asking everyone to do some. Could I have Councilwoman Montesano Cohen followed by Councilwoman Kinsella move in second to close to the public?
Move to close session.
Second.
Okay, so we are closing to the public for the second reading of ordinance 20-3. Again, this requires a roll call. Councilman Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Okay, so we have moved and seconded. It is now up for a vote to pass or to fail. This is our second reading. This vote will, of course, make it an ordinance of River Edge if it passed. Could I have Councilman Gaudier and Councilwoman Kaufman move and second the passing of the second reading of ordinance 20-3?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, at this point, we are asking for a vote either in favor or against. Council President Kanigo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Okay, that closes our ordinances. It passed unanimously. So now we are up to our monthly reports. There is one land use, which is on February 19, 2020, which the public is interested in, got a copy of. They can contact the borough offices. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention at the beginning, and I apologize, our clerk, Stephanie Effins, is also with us. And so Stephanie, thank you for being with us and for all that you do. Okay, we're up to resolutions 20-113 through 20-117. Is there anyone who objects to passing this as a group? Because if you would like to pull one out or ask a question, now would be a time to let us know. Hearing none, we are going to move, sorry. No. Hearing none, we will move resolutions 2115 through 2117 as a block. Could I have Councilwoman Bastide and Council President Kinigo in that order move in second resolutions 20-115 through 2117?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sarlo, do we need a roll call or could this be a unanimous vote?
Roll call, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. All right, Council President Kinigo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Gordier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
It's been moved and seconded. It's been approved by the council. Now we are up to Resolution 20-1118. I ask our council president and one member of the Finance Committee to move and second it. Councilwoman Kaufman.
So moved. Resolution 20-118, payment of bills. At a regular meeting of the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on April 27th, 2020. Be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge approve the following expenditures. Current fund account, $112,200.41. Capital fund account, $3,637.50. Grant fund account, $1,710. Trust other account, $2,468.91. Developers escrow account, $675. Recreation account, $5,893.01. I hereby certify that this resolution, consisting of one page, was adopted at the meeting of the Borough Council of the Borough of River Edge, held on this day, April 27, 2020. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, Councilman Kinigo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Gordier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella.
Yes.
Okay, we have one new business item, census lawn signs. I believe Councilwoman Kinsella, that is your business item. Please feel free to address.
Yes, I've been in touch with Rodin Sanchez from Freeholder Ortiz's office. And
Yes.
we still, everyone who had grants are still getting that money. It's just not coming to us directly. We will have to either, we spend money and then we submit receipts. And so we are, as of today, or actually as of yesterday, River Ridge is 72% at their response rate for the census, which is great.
Isn't that up 4% from last time?
Yes, yes, from the last time I checked, which is great. So what I would like to do, again, since we do have the $4,000, to kind of try to narrow it down, because I can't find a way to figure out who and what area has responded and who has not. So I wanted to get some lawn signs, which we could place in front of the library and or the post office, or just major trafficked areas, so we can get a little bit more people to respond, or remind them that to respond to the 2020 census. And
So
I think the apartments also, I need to get some lawn signs there as well.
Good. So are you looking for 20 signs, 50 signs, 100 signs? What are you looking for?
I think 25 signs, because that was kind of recommended. We had a call with Rodin Sanchez, as well as other individuals from the councils of different municipalities, saying what they actually did for to get the word out. And so one suggestion is making, doing 25 signs and then kind of switching it around, so you're not saturating just everywhere.
Okay. Members of the council, any opinions, any thoughts?
I think that sounds like a great idea, Mayor.
I do too.
I also think it sounds like a great idea. I was wondering though, and the census is so important to our town that we really want everybody to respond as much as possible. So I'm all for throwing a little more money on this to try to get the responses. What about bilingual signs? We have a very high section of our population, especially in the apartments, that are not English
Yeah.
speakers, but they are here and they do count. Can we consider maybe some bilingual signs, especially for that side of town?
Sure.
So that would be Chinese, Korean.
I would say, Korean would probably be number one. I'm sure Mr. Porio can chime in on that. Not right now, but at some point in the next few days, he can take a look at things and chime in on what might be the best use of our funds. And it may not just be one language. There may be a few languages we want to consider. We just want to try to get it out to as many people as possible.
That's great. Any other member for council before I address Mr. Porio? Okay, Mr. Porio, do we need to move it as a motion, or is it something, since it's a grant, that we can just do by unanimous consent? Mr. Porio.
No, Mayor, I think I have an understanding of what council is looking for and the direction that they want to head in.
Excellent. So, Councilwoman Kinsella, thank you for bringing this and shepherding this idea, and especially the grant. I know you've been working with others. Thank you to all who are working with this. The census is so very important for the life of our country, for funding, for grants, in so many ways. So to be properly counted, all people who live in the town, not just people who think that they would be included, but everyone is important. Anyone living here, regardless of whether they're citizens or not, this is very important, because this is how we determine representation in Congress, as well as funding and grants and so many other things. So thank you.
It will affect our taxes, right? It will affect our taxes. So if you want lower taxes, let's get everybody in town to participate.
Yes.
If when you talk to your friends in town, please, it's 5 minutes on the internet. That's all.
It's huge. So is there any other new business item that any member of council would like to raise? Hearing that, we are open to the, let us open to the public. Could I have, let's see, could I have Councilwoman Bastide and Council President Kanigo please move to open to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are now open to the public. If you would like to make a comment and you're calling in by phone, hit *9. If you're doing it by computer, laptop, or iPad or Chromebook, please raise your hand or do something in the chat. We'll give you a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Councilwoman Kaufman, turning it over to you. Lou, this is your time to chime in.
Okay, Lou, you're unmuted.
Okay, looking forward to the end of the year here with the River Edge Run, and hopefully everyone will look upon this whole escapade as like a bad dream. It'll be well behind us by November or December when the run is happening.
Hope so.
I appreciate everything everyone's doing during this tough time.
Thank you, Lou. We appreciate those comments. We appreciate how you attend our meetings and keep us on our toes and help us to do a better job. And we appreciate your compliments. Are there any questions or suggestions you have for us, or are you just, is it just that comment?
Yeah, at this time, I think, I mean, you're with many of the things going on in town. I know you're bound by what the governor's decision is as far as when various businesses can open and things like that. So a lot of it is, hinged on that. I think possibly, when it does come down, I see there are other states that are opening up various businesses. Hopefully we'll have enough police manpower at the time that if people, when businesses do open and gatherings happen, that if people are not following the distancing rules, there'll be ample people there to, keep them in check so it doesn't cause a real problem and make this whole COVID situation worse. Because as I'm sure most of you have seen on TV, a lot of the states opening up things and people are just not following any rules at all, and it's really not a good situation. So hopefully when things do break, people can follow the rules and we can move forward as opposed to taking backward steps.
Okay, I agree, Lou. Thank you for calling in. Is there anything more, Lou, or shall
No.
we wish you well?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Councilwoman Kaufman, is there anyone else?
There is not.
All right, then. Councilwoman Kaufman and Councilwoman Kinsella, could you move in second to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstained? Let's record that as unanimous. Council comments. We'll start with our council president again and move through seniority, if that's okay. It's just a little bit easier for me to manage. Council President Kanigo.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take a moment to thank Congressman Gottheimer for appearing tonight and for being there for our questions, even though we had none. I think we are all at home watching the news constantly, so I think most of our questions are answered anyway. Again, we're all facing a very difficult time right now. Stay indoors, listen to the officials. They're the people who know what's going on. It's frustrating for every last one of us. Keep away from others and, continue doing what you're doing, because I think Riveredge right now over the past couple of months has been doing great. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for everything you guys do for Riveredge.
Thank you, Council President. Councilwoman Bastide.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilwoman Kinsella, for leading our census efforts. That's a great report. 72% is excellent, and I applaud your work on this to try to increase that percentage. And perhaps if it's within the law, if we could put something on the website. Is there something on our website? I don't even know if there is. Just drawing people's attention and how they can fill out the census. We might want to look at doing that. I'd like to thank Congressman Gottheimer for participating and all his hard work on behalf of District 5. Again, just a thank you to all our frontline workers. And I just also like to thank the members of the borough team who worked alongside the bargaining unit for the DPW and coming up with this fairly negotiated contract that we authorized the mayor to sign tonight. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At 8 o'clock, we're going to stop for a minute and clap for our healthcare workers. Councilman Kanigo reminded me of that via text messaging. Thank you, Councilman Kanigo. So I think we can, I got about a minute on my clock, a minute or two. So we'll move to Councilman Gaudier for comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I am pleased that we were able to reach a mutually beneficial collective bargaining agreement with our DPW. I've said numerous times what a great job they do, and they continue to do a great job even through this crisis. I would again like to thank all of the healthcare workers and first responders on the front lines for doing everything they do. And I'd like to thank Congressman Gottheimer for coming tonight to our meeting, our virtual meeting, and for all the work he does on behalf of Riveredge residents, as well as our whole district and the country as a whole. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gaudier. We have just enough time for one more person before we have to stop. Councilwoman Kaufman.
Sure. Thank you again to Congressman Gottheimer. Thank you to all our first responders and healthcare workers. And to anyone who is getting over COVID in town, I wish you a very speedy and complete recovery. And be safe, everybody.
Okay, and well, we can do one quick one if you would like. Councilwoman Montserrat Cohen.
Sure. I just want to recognize the efforts made by our OEM team to coordinate with local groups and communities in town, helping identify at-risk citizens, especially with the access to food and information about where to get food. And I want to thank Mr. Porio for addressing my many, many questions on the copyright ordinance that I've had throughout the past 72 hours. So thank you. And stay safe, everyone.
Okay, so we're going to pause now to applaud our healthcare workers. So if we could all make sure our mics are on and let us applaud our healthcare workers. We're not going to do the whole 2 minutes. Let's just do 30 because I think that would be a little trying on our video listeners. So for 30 seconds, here we go. Thank you, healthcare workers. The town will go on for another minute and a half, and we really appreciate that. I just, my electronic doorbell told me that my wife has stepped outside and she's banging the pan I normally bang when I'm home. So, and I know Manning Avenue represents, my neighbors are out there with pots, pans, one neighbor with a saxophone. Thank you, all those of you who are participate in thanking our healthcare workers, our doctors, our nurses, our technicians, all those people who work to keep the hospital clean, the custodians, the administration staff that keeps running it, as well as all those specialized people, our EMTs, our ambulance, as well as all the people in county and state and local government, including our borough nurse and our borough health officer, who are working tirelessly to protect and to care for those of us who are ill. All right. So now we are up to Councilwoman Kinsella. Any comments?
Again, thank Congressman Gottheimer for joining us and giving us some additional information and taking the time out of his, I'm sure, incredibly busy schedule. And to the first responders and healthcare workers, there's not even enough thank yous to go around for all the work they do. And also just everyone to stay safe and healthy.
Yeah, I agree. I echo everything everyone said. Congressman Gottheimer's doing a great job for our congressional district, CD5. He's really incredibly hardworking. We're grateful and lucky to have him. Also, I want to call out to our BA, Raymond Porio, for negotiating in good faith with our union and our union for negotiating in good faith with us so that our DPW, we've come to a fair and reasonable contract. I also want to call out to our Raymond Porio, as well as our CFO and our finance committee and everyone who worked to not just get the budget in the last meeting, but the capital portion of the budget this meeting. Well done. We really appreciate it. Great work to all of you. Also, a special thanks to our OEM, Stu and Ron Strace, former chief of police, who is our OEM coordinator director, and the deputy, Stu Heisinger, as well as to everyone else, including our fire, police, DPW, our borough employees, everyone who is working to keep government going to benefit our people. And also a special thanks to our BA, not a BA, our borough attorney and our labor attorney, Tom Sarlo, our borough attorney, our labor attorney, Matt Giacobbe, as well as all of our attorneys for land use board who have been working virtually with us so that we can keep that open. I'd also like to thank our engineer, Rob Costa, and all of his employees who helped us to replace curbs and to pave Bogard Road. They did a phenomenal job. Thank you for
Beautiful.
all that they did. Yeah, right? It really turned out good.
Beautiful.
We have so much to be grateful for here in River Edge. We have wonderful residents. We have an outstanding borough employees and professionals and volunteers. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. Could I have Councilwoman Kinsella and second by Councilwoman Monsanto Cohen to close this meeting of the Mayor and Council of April 27, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, this concludes the meeting of the mayor and council, April 27th, 2020. We appreciate the public, we appreciate the council, we appreciate our workers. Thank you all and good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night, everybody.
Good night.
Take
Good
care.
night.
Stay safe.